Hello, everyone. Thank you all for joining. Welcome to InRhythm Quarterly Summit. For those who don't know me, I'm Parag Katkar. I'm the head of consulting practices at InRhythm. And over next 4 weeks, we'll be hosting a series of 6 hands-on interactive coding workshops on latest technology trends. And today, we are hosting the first workshop of the series, which is our SDET workshop. A little bit about the summit. Learning and growth is a core value for us at InRhythm. And the thought leaders at InRhythm identify the latest trends in the industry for each practice area. Then they plan weekly lightning talks on those trends. And end of every quarter, we host a quarterly summit where we go over the summary of the technology trends that we covered in that quarter. And then we do a hands-on coding workshop to learn those skills, where you all will discuss your learnings and share your knowledge and how you would apply those new skills that you learn on the products and platform that you're building. I'm super excited for today's workshop. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Vidal to go over the agenda for today's workshop and kick it off from there.
Thanks, Parag. How's it going, guys? My name is Vidal, and I'm a lead SDET here at InRhythm. I'm joined by 3 of our senior SDETs, Oleksii, Alex, and Imran, who will be helping me with this presentation. Let's talk a little bit about our agenda. First off, well, I haven't even talked about what we're working on yet. This workshop is on Microsoft Playwright, which is a new testing framework, automated testing framework for web applications and mobile applications. It's pretty powerful, and at InRhythm, we're really excited about it. So we'll be starting off by talking a little bit about what Playwright is, some of its features, what are some of the strengths. We'll go into a little bit of the basic test writing before going into an interactive session. And then from there, we'll go into a few more advanced features, such as its debugging and tracing features and its reporting and parallelization. After that, we have a cross-language demo, and then we'll close out with a little bit of the pros and cons of Playwright and do a Q&A. All right. Oops. So what is Playwright? Playwright is a very flexible automated testing solution built off of a Selenium backend. It is cross-browser, supporting basically all modern browsers. It's cross-platform, including mobile web, and it's also cross-language, allowing you to write tests in TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, or .NET. It is very resilient, built upon years and years of experience with common test problems, including flakiness. It has a very robust set of auto-wait features that are built in and are relatively easy to configure. It has web-first assertions, which give you a lot of confidence in its assertions, and we'll talk a bit about that tracing feature later. It allows you to run tests across multiple tabs, multiple browsers at once, different user profiles on those browsers, all automatically with its built-in APIs. It has very reliable events, and it's very importantly, its tests pierce the shadow DOM, which allow you to run tests on trickier applications with unusual frames and kind of UI components. Has powerful tooling also. The code gen we're not going to go into in this talk, but the inspector/debugger and that tracing feature again are very, very useful for debugging tests, which for anybody who is an SDET knows the difficulties of debugging some complicated UI tests. So I'm going to go through some rote slides for basics of test writing before we jump into our interactive session, where we'll actually set up a Playwright project off of a new repo. And yeah, so the great thing about Playwright is that it works basically out of the box. You have one command, this npm init playwright at latest, which not only installs Playwright, but also adds a whole bunch of files to your project that basically give you the ability to run a test off the bat without having to do anything. You get a pre-configured configuration file And that configuration file lets you set up a whole bunch of global state. Basic stuff that you're used to, like base URL, timeouts, headlessness or whatnot, but also more advanced states, features like storage state, geolocation, time zone ID, and some of Playwright's built-in debugging features, such as the automatic screenshot and the automatic video recording for tests. It also gives you a list of sample tests that you could look at that operate against Playwright's own website, which kind of gives you a basis for being able to just copy paste code for your own website. One of the great things about Playwright is that it uses a pretty modern test concept called fixtures. You do everything in Playwright through the page object, which lets you essentially operate on the browser. And Playwright exposes a huge number of fixtures that allow you to basically very easily get this page and operate on a page at any time. For those of you who are unfamiliar, test fixture is essentially a way to encapsulate test setup and teardown into a single place and expose it optionally to any test, which then requests that fixture specifically. So the page itself exposes an API that allows you to interact with the browser. To start with any sort of page interaction, you need a locator. You need something on the page to operate on. And those of you who have written tests in some older test frameworks like Base Selenium or anything can know that this is a difficult process to find things on the page that's open. Playwright makes it very easy. The locator API exposes various common methods for obtaining elements, and all of these locator functions interact with Playwright's base auto wait and retry features, which you can set globally or you can set on a test-by-test basis. And the locator API automatically pierces the shadow DOM, as I said before. Once you have the locator, it's really easy to just operate on the item in the browser just by daisy chaining an action of some sort. So once you get an object on the page, you can click it, you can check it, you can uncheck it, you can hover over it, you can do all sorts of things. And in the same way, you can assert on the page and page a state by daisy chaining a assertion to the locator. All right, that is not up to date. So we are going to walk into the interactive session now. I'm going to hand it over to Imran, who is going to share a screen, and I will walk him through some of the initialization of a new Playwright project. Do you want to share your screen, Imran?
Hey, I just tried to, and it gave me a permission error.
Yeah.
While Imran is doing that, let's just make sure everybody has all the prerequisites steps done. Can you go over Vidal or Imran what the steps?
Yeah, so I could speak on the installation aspects of it. Maybe I should have just waited a little bit for you guys to do this, but so pretty much what I did was, let me hide this first.
Yeah, and let's really go slow. Like the most important thing is to take everyone together and move forward. If somebody is falling behind, then just raise your hand and we'll go slow, right? It's okay, even if you covered everything, it's just important that everybody is moving along, because if you fall behind, then you can't cover up. So
sure.
Raise hands.
Right. So first thing you want to do is copy the code that Vidal shared with you guys for the repository for the application. First thing you want to do is you want to do git clone. Let me just get out of this directory first. CD. Sorry, I'm trying to get out of this repository so I could start from scratch for you guys. So let me check my directory that I'm in currently, and my codes usually are in Dojo. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to clone the repository for the application that Vidal shared earlier. And to do that, you want to do git clone and paste the code for the repository. And this will make a copy of the application on your local. And as you can see, I already did that for you, did that earlier, just a few seconds ago. That's why it's giving me an error that there's a duplicate folder with the same name exists. So let's pretend that I did that and it was successfully done. And let's see what's it called.
And after every stage that people are there, like anybody who wants to wait, we can wait.
Sure. All right. So, can someone confirm that they have been able to git clone the repository?
No one?
I'll take silence as yes.
No, then
always
the thing is that then it doesn't work like that. We ask, not everybody might see.
I'm randomly gonna call out someone.
I give a thumbs up so I can see I was able to clone it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
not everybody will see your video all the time based on how many people they see. So just
okay.
You can speak up, guys. How about others? Alex, you're good. Oleksii, Alex. I mean, you guys are already prepared for this. Godfrey is giving thumbs up. Okay, good. But guys, feel free to stop the flow if you're not. Good, thanks.
So after I did the git clone, it'll create after you do the git clone, it'll create a folder called Cypress Real World App Playground, and you want to get into that directory. And let's do that. Cypress. That was a typo. Real World App. Okay, 1 second. Really? Okay.
I think Playground is a different folder. You don't add that also.
Got it. There you go. Thanks, Vidal. All right, so after you get into the directory where this app is installed, and you will need to do a yarn install. And in order to do that, you just have to type the word yarn, and it will start installing all the necessary packages that that are needed for this project. Also, question, Vidal. I know you asked me to share my screen. So would you like me to show them how to install Playwright from scratch as well?
So for the interactive session, we're going to be doing 4 things. First off, we're going to install Playwright. You can do it right here into the Cypress Real World App directory. 2, we're going to go over the config, and we'll just go over it and look and see what's in it so I can show people. And then 3 and 4, we're going to write 2 tests. The first test is a simple login test against the real world app. And the third test will be a negative scenario where we put in wrong credentials and validate the error.
Sure.
Right.
All right.
And
so
that's everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you want to tell us the command for the installing Playwright? I know myself, but I just want you to walk us through. What kind of let's walk me through what do you want me to do?
Just one minute.
Yeah.
Ted, can you post on LinkedIn the prerequisites that Vidal has listed on Confluence so that people on LinkedIn also have that?
Sure thing.
Thanks. In the event, we have the event link, right? Go to the event, and in the comments, you can add that so that they can also follow along. Yeah, go ahead, Vidal. Sorry.
No problem. It can take a second for Yarn to install for people, so if anybody wants to give me a shout out when they're all set up, then we can go forward. The irony of testing Playwright on a Cypress application is not lost on me, by the way.
That is, yeah.
And after all the packages are installed, you could also, should I continue showing the app while
Yes.
people are installing? Sure.
Please, yeah.
So based on the README folder on the repository Vidal shared, you can see that if you want to run the app, you have to pass the command yarn dev, and it should launch the application on your local. Command failed with code 127. Can somebody else confirm they're seeing the same error on their local?
Did I run for you before?
I know I did not run this before. Okay, well that's getting figured out. Let me also install Playwright on my local. Vidal, can you tell us the command to install Playwright on our local?
So, well, the initialization is also the installation. It does everything where it installs it and it also sets it up. So we'll do that in a let's do this. Why don't you, instead of using the real world app, let's just make an empty repository and write our testing in Google for everyone's sake. I think that if just getting this set up to begin with is might be difficult to inside of the call. So let's just, for everyone, we'll write all of our tests against the Google homepage, because just to keep everything going along.
Okay, sounds good.
So just make a new directory.
All right. Actually, let me do it from I'm going to create a folder. All right. So I've created a folder called Playwright, and I am into that folder right now, and where I'll be installing Playwright project itself. Vidal, so I know it was the command, but would you like to reiterate for us?
Yeah. So the command I just posted in the chat. It's npm init playwright at latest, and this command is going to both install Playwright and also set up for you some predefined files in your project. So first, I was going to ask you what language you want to use. We can go with JavaScript for this demo, or TypeScript if you guys want to.
Let's go with JavaScript.
For everybody listening, I just posted a screenshot of the prerequisites into the LinkedIn thread, so you should be able to see that. And I'll also post a PDF available here in just a minute.
Thanks. So next, it'll ask you what folder you want your tests in. This is useful because if you're initiating Playwright in repo that already has production code, like a web application repo, you can define what path your tests will live in. So we'll just leave it in test for now.
All right, sounds good. So I'll just click enter because we're going to leave it as is.
We're not going to go over GitHub for this talk. That's a potential future talk. So you can leave this false.
All right, click enter.
And one great thing about Playwright is that it comes automatically with all the browsers that it will run tests on, which means, for example, if you are on a Windows machine and you want to run your tests against Mac Safari, obviously you can't have Safari installed on your Windows, but Playwright has a way to run those Safari tests internally. That's what this is doing. It's installing those browsers for you. You can just hit yes. True.
All right.
Yes. Yeah. And here we go.
All right. Now it's installing all the necessary packages and got a confirmation, happy hacking. So we'll be hacking going forward.
Yeah, always. But can you take a look at the directory?
Sure. Let me open it up here.
All right, awesome. So as you can see, we have a few folders here. Package folders are obviously normal for your NPM projects. You have a test folder with some examples, and you have that config.js. So let's take a look at that config first. Config's at the bottom. Yeah. So as you can see, the config is pretty robust out the back. It comes with a whole bunch of pre-configured options, and it's very well documented. Everything is commented, so you can tell what each command does. And it doesn't even have all the commands here. Your documentation on the Playwright Docs website will have more. But just going through, you can see we have here under projects, we have the available browsers. Chrome, WebKit, and Firefox are automatically enabled. Everything else is commented out, but you can very easily just comment them back in. Here's that. You have your timeouts at the top, tracing. Let's go down a little bit more. What type of report you want. We'll go into reports and tracing later in this base timeout, and where your test directory is. As you can see, we did just leave it default, so it's just tests. All right, and so I think that what's at the bottom of the config? Let's go to the bottom. And this is for screenshots, but yep, all stuff we'll go into later. All right, cool. So let's take a look at one of those test examples. Yeah, I think this is the complicated one. Yeah, this one's the complicated one. Not this one. Let's look at the other one. Yeah, this one. Yeah. So here you have the anatomy of a few basic tests. You can see here that they use the page fixture to inject the page into the test, and then using that page, they go to the Playwright Dev website, and they expect the title to be correct. We can run this test if you want, Imran. It's the command is, I'll type it in the chat too. Is this? Why don't you type that in?
All right, let me see. Command is npx playwright test.
Oh, sorry, no S, my bad, just test. Yep. So you can see here, it triggers the tests. It automatically runs multi-threaded. Multi-threading is something we'll go into later. And it ran that example test really quickly. It runs headless by default. We can change that by writing the command. Run the command with headless as false. You can see what it looks like. It's I think after that you just type space headless colon false.
All right, headless colon false, npx playwright test headless false.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, that wasn't right.
Yeah.
Check inside the config. I think the config has to be headless at the top. Where's the use? Oh, here it is. Okay, so under use, add a field for headless. :false, and then yeah, and now run the test.
All right, so I'll be running the same command one more time, npx playwright test, and we do not need headless false this time since we have set the key property headless to false in the config file.
We should see it
And
pull up the playwright for a second, validate the
yeah,
title. And
so
post.
it is actually running the browser, but I just realized I'm sharing just my VS Code. So I'm going to stop sharing and reshare my entire screen so you guys can see everything that's going on. All right, can you guys confirm you can see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, sounds good. So just to reiterate what I have done, we added a property in use in config file and set headless to false so you guys can see the test in action. And after you have installed the directory to your local, run npx playwright test, which will run the test we have they provided to us under test folder example.spec.js. So let's run that right now and see it in action. It's running 6 different tests. It happened really fast.
Yeah.
You guys saw it in action, right? All right, and all 6 tests passed.
Let's write one test, just only because we're 10 minutes over.
Sure.
So let's make a new test.
Sure.
You can do it in the
before I proceed, can someone else confirm they're able to run it on their local as well? I know I have gone through setting up a Cypress real world app earlier, but that's optional, and we decided not to go forward with that application just for time's sake. And we're going to write. Vidal is going to guide us how to write a test using Google.com.
Yeah.
Anyone has any questions so far with setting this up on their local? All right, so I will take that as everyone is good and it's running on your local as expected. All right, Vidal, guide me through. You want me to create a test file?
Yep, you could just do it in this same example spec. Let's yeah, let's put in a test. Just add a new test spec. Yep. Let's call it Google pictures of puppies. That's my default test.
Right. You said Google default puppies. Okay.
Or just Google
like
puppies.
Puppies. All right, Google puppies.
Yeah.
If you guys are into kittens, you can write kitties. It's okay.
Do that. Okay, so then after the string, comma, async, open parentheses, open brackets, and then pass in the page fixture. Yep. Nice. All right. So, yep.
All right. And what will be the link?
www.google.com.
www.google.com. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. So next up, we'll have to type into the box, the search box. You need your semicolon space. Yeah. And then, so we'll do await page. And we'll have to get the locator of the search box. Let's see if we could do it by name. So, yeah, so we could actually do it by role. Okay, yeah, pull that up. Yep. If you inspect it. So you can see it has the role of text, type is equal to text.
Row, sorry, property attribute name is row.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Creating row equal what is the value?
Look for text or search.
Search.
Yeah, there we go. Right. Title search, it's title. So let's do it by title.
All right. Title. I'm not getting any XPath with title. However, we could also try type text and.
Imran, can you use a single quote over there for the search instead of double?
Sure thing. And also just realize the search, yeah, S is capital.
There you go. Sweet.
Just making sure you're paying attention. All right. Okay, so guide me through. What's the step?
Yeah. So page.locator.
Locator.
And then just pass in that XPath.
All right.
Dot. Yep. And then let's daisy chain. Is it enter text or send text? Check it. Send. Oh, it's type. It's actually just type.
Fill.
Yeah. And then type in puppies.
Once again, you can type kitties if you're into that. I'm going to do, sorry, before I move forward, would you like me to add anything else into this test box?
Yeah,
test block.
Yeah, we'll have to click the search button. So click the search button.
Okay. After that,
this one has a role.
Okay. Locator, and I'm guessing we're going to create another. We are going to create another XPath for Google search.
Okay. So you could do role button, or you could do type submit, whichever one.
Role button.
Is there a specific method which is called type enter or something?
Specific method for type enter? Let's find out. Maybe there is.
Input or net.
Oh, there is. All right, so he's right. There actually is a way to do it. Instead of type, do fill.
Sorry, what was the value you mentioned?
So instead of doing dot type, go back to the previous line in the code. In the code, the test. Get rid of line 24. And instead of type on line 23, do fill. And that will, no, instead of type.
Instead of type, okay.
Yeah. Fill. Nice. Cool. Now let's add a delay so that it will be easier for us to look at. Not here, but inside the config, we can add a global delay. That'll make it easier for us to look.
Sure.
Under use, let's see. Slow mode. MO. Capital M. Set it to something like 700. Right.
It's in millisecond or it's in second?
10 milliseconds.
Okay, so let's add 7,000. Okay.
So,
All right. So should I run this test?
7,000 is long.
A little long. I mean, we could kill it if it's too long after everyone has seen it.
Yeah. Comment out the top two tests also.
All right.
Mhm.
I think semicolon is missing at the end of the line 24.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, do you think it's gonna take the single quote as a string when you send that word? I think it should be double quote, right?
It's not throwing any errors, but I will take your advice and turn it into double
We
quote.
can try. I mean, I'm not sure. Just
Yeah,
just
right.
want to make sure.
Okay, Vidal, would you like me to run the test now?
Run it.
All right. Let's see.
Set it off.
I'm liking it.
All right. So, as John was saying, there's some syntax errors. So now let's try to fix that. So, page.go_to.
Did not run. Why did that not run? Let's look at that for a second.
It's also with the single quote, maybe,
Oh. Yeah, try
right.
double quotes. Yeah.
Should have listened to John.
I think single quotes should work.
By the way, can we use the specific tag for running specific tests, or just because when you run the test, I think it's running all the tests, right? Not the specific ones.
Well, it's running it across 3 browsers. That's what we see a lot. That's why.
Okay.
Yeah, and also single quotes should work. It's a JavaScript that it may not work because you don't have this HTTPS prefix.
All right.
True.
So let's add that.
Mhm.
All right. It looks good. Anyone can find any other errors in my code? All right. Let's try to run it one more time. Let's see what happens.
Thanks, Miles.
All right. So
yeah,
that worked. Puppies, it happened way too fast. I saw it typing, but I'm gonna run it one more time just so you guys can see it in action. If you didn't pay attention this time. Thank you. Okay, let's see. It's happening. Yep, puppies. I've seen it. Can someone else confirm they have seen it?
Now, if you want, you can put the weight between those two steps and
I don't think it clicked enter though. I think that's what we're missing from this.
Okay.
Yeah, field doesn't enter. Yeah, that's correct. It's only sending the keys.
Yeah. So let's also click the button.
Sure. So let's create a XPath for Google search button. Okay, let's use value equal this, and then let's add one more role equal button. Okay, I could just index it for now. This is not the best practice. but okay, no, cannot index it. So let's get better at creating this XPath. What other unique values can we locate? We have button K.
I think type is what you want, type submit.
Type equals submit. Okay, yeah, let's use that. All right, that also gave us 2. How about class?
Can you try to use this like page dot keyboard and then send the enter key as instead of looking another locator over here.
Sure. Okay. Do you know the syntax for it?
Yep. Just await page dot keywords. Yep. Keyword dot press. And then you can just say enter with the capital E. Well, no, you need to send it as a string.
String? Okay. Got it.
Yep. Yep. Can you try now and then see how it goes?
All right. So we're running this test. We're looking for puppies, and we need to see some pictures of puppies before we can call it a quit.
Yeah.
Let's
Before
see.
running, just make sure that you put the semicolon.
It happened fast.
Yeah, actually,
one more time.
yeah.
All right. I think Vidal. I think you have demonstrated that how easy it is to write a test and how easy it is to install Playwright on your local. And let's move on to the next steps in your agenda.
Yeah. So at that point, we are done with the first practical coding assignment. We'll take a 15-minute break. I'll put up you can stop sharing. I'll put up the slide, and then when we return, Alex will take over and talk about the debugger and tracing features. Sound good, guys?
Yeah, debugging is an exciting feature, so please come back after the break.
Nice. Good start, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it's 1:15. Welcome back to the InRhythm SDET Summit Propel workshop. I'm going to hand over the screen share to Alex, who is going to talk about the debugger and tracing features of Playwright. On to you, Alex.
Hello, everyone.
Cool. Hey, Alex.
Yeah, let me share my screen, and I'll be talking about the debugging features of Playwright. Okay, I'm sharing. Can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay, great. So we prepared some tests that test that Cypress real world app. And I'll be showing on those tests, basically all 4 tests passing. Whoever has a setup for the Cypress real world, we can pass these tests. Or I can show on this test, and then I can get a volunteer to basically to do the same debugging on the test we wrote in the first session. That would be another option. So yeah, so let me start. These 4 tests, they are passing right now. I just run them, and I'll be going through 3 separate tools to do the debugging in Playwright. Each tool has its separate detailed page in the Playwright documentation. So the first one would be Playwright Inspector. It's a default debugging tool for Playwright, which comes with the Playwright bundle. Then we'll go through VS Code extension, something you can get from VS Code extensions and install in your VS Code, and that helps to debug. And the last thing I'll talk about Trace Viewer. which is recording traces of your tests, which also very helpful for some cases that's not easy to debug. Then you can get the trace and see what's going on in the more detailed information. All right, let's start with the Playwright inspector first. And right, if we run tests, as you already know from the first session, it would run by default in the headless mode. And for debug, we need a headed mode, and we need to get this Playwright inspector running at the same time. So for that, we use the debug option. So the previous command just run our test, and then we use --debug. But before run it, let's first break test again. Now they are all passing. So I just want to say, let's say this test, we just modify the locator, and let's just remove this hole and write test. So this should fail in this test. And again, so we don't need to run all the tests now. We can specify to run a particular test. It's not related to debugger, it's how you run the particular test in Playwright. You can just use the G option, and then you get the test name from here. Yeah, so this would run this one test and we'll debug it. I'm starting to run. And as you see, not only the window for executing the test, the browser window open, but also we'll get this utility window, which is Playwright Inspector, that shows the code and that shows the debugger, like command buttons, play, pause, and step over. One more thing I need to mention: the test we have, they consist not only from the test itself, but also they show how to use the fixture. And as you see, once we get page here, we don't get the regular page, we get user page, because we have a separate file which contains the fixture command for every test that basically takes the page, then does a login, and then says test use the page. It's something like how you reuse the code in Playwright. So yeah, now we get the page which already performed the login, and then we can do get my accounts tab and in the app, and then do some assertions on the account tab. So yeah, here first it goes through the fixture code, and then we can step over. It does, like, let me put it side by side. Yeah, so we do step over, and then yeah, it did the login. Now it's in the test, and you can switch between sources right here. So that was our fixture code. Now it's a test code. Again, step over. Now I'll just let it go to show you how it fails. I'll just do the play, and it stopped on the broken locator. It's waiting for 5 seconds, which is timeout. And then it shows us a report with the issue. So it shows timeout 500 milliseconds, was waiting for expected, and it got nothing because it's saying the locator wait time exceeded. And also we can see this error right here in the console. So Playwright by default opens the report, but yeah, if you don't need a report, you can just read it here. So let's now run again, and to put a breakpoint, we need to put a breakpoint. We don't need to go through the fixture again. We know this is broken from the report, so we need to put a breakpoint here. In that inspector window, you cannot put breakpoints right there. You need to do it in the code. So how to put breakpoints? Basically, you use this page object. We use our user page, but that's just a process, like that's just a page object, Playwright's page object after login. So it has the same methods that the original page object. So we can do user page pause. And in this way, we don't need to step over every statement. We just go to play test until this statement Save, and then let's run it again. Again, the browser window opens, Playwright Inspector, then we can do play. Yeah, right, it stopped right on the pause. So let me show you around the inspector window what we have here beside these debugging buttons. I already talked about this. You can copy this code from here. Also, you can see the current locator which is being executed at cursor, this last one. And then you can pick a locator using this tool. So basically, if you click this pick locator, then you can point on any field. For example, we know that this locator is broken for the email, then we just click pick a locator, we point to this field, and it generates us a locator that we can use. But we may not like it, like it usually it generates a reliable locator, like it recognizes the test data locator is there, so it gives it a preference. But let's say we have everything with a name tag and we want a locator with the name equal. So what we can do additionally, we can use a Playwright console tools. It's something separate from inspector. It's in a browser console, but it runs, when you run the inspector, then you get in the browser that Playwright object. Let me show you. So we can open console tools, and if you go here, you can write Playwright, and you have this Playwright object, and it has some methods to use locators. Basically, you can test locator by every of this method, or you can use the $sign and double $sign. $1 means evaluate the first occurrence of the locator. $2 means return all the occurrences. So let me show you first, like with $1 we can just, let's say we want to test, okay, why this one is not working, is it really broken? Let's say I'm copy it from here to here, then I click, okay, undefined, so it means it doesn't find it. And then let's say, okay, Playwright suggests this one. Let's say I'm trying to follow Playwright, but I just want to double check. And then, yeah, see, it returned this element, basically, which corresponds to this field. Or I can do some more. Let's say I want to try to be more specific, and I say input here. Would it work? Yes, it's working. But what if I suspect there may be a couple of elements related to this locator? I can do double $sign, I can click, and then it returns an array with only one element, because it's relates to single element. But let's say we want to see like how it returns an array of elements. We can just do input, which should relate to many. Yeah, you can see the four elements returned, which correspond to each input in the DOM. Yeah, very useful feature. Playwright, you get it during debug in the browser. You can test your locators here. All right, going back to Playwright Inspector, let's say, yeah, oh, okay, I just wanted to show you, yeah, I just wanted for that element, let's say we want going to stick with the, to be like the same with the name, first name, we'll want to have it with, what was that, email? Yeah, we can just try do it like this, and then we'll get it name, email, yeah. Console back. Okay, now we sure it would work, so we can get it from here. We can put it back into our code. Okay, quotes, yeah. So yeah, let's finish up with the Playwright Inspector. I'll just show you some more things here. So basically, here you see the log, what framework is doing on each use statement. So This is how framework evaluates each of the statements. Like when it fills the field, you can see what it's doing. It's waiting for locator resolved to such element handle fill, then waiting for element to be visible, enabled, editable, visible, enable, and so on. So for click, it does a little bit more. It actually, first, it's trying to see if this element is clickable, then it performing the click, waits for element to be visible, enabled, and stable. So yeah, you can see from the log what's going on and what possibly can fail there. There is also the way to record test. It's not it's not related to debug, but just for you to know, I'll show you quickly. So you can, if you use this records functionality, you can click it and then you can do some clicks right here, and then everything you do would be recorded, and then you can change, basically you can, the recorded code, you can change it. Let's say this would be just record in a simple Playwright test, as you saw in a JavaScript. Then you can even change the language here to have it in PyTest. You can have it in different kind of NUnit style. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, then let's go back to debugging. So yeah, that was pretty much all about Playwright Inspector. Let me go to the second way to debug. Right, so yeah, we fixed the test. We can run it again and see that it's fixed. But let's actually do it with the other way to debug. So that would be VS Code extension. And to get that extension, we need to go to the extensions tab in VS Code and type here Playwright. So that's where you see this Playwright test for Xcode. And if you do install, it's very quickly. It's 1 second. I didn't put it into prerequisites because it's just a second. And then you get this testing tab, where it basically, what the extension does, it reads all your tests in the folder you have a set that you have all the tests. It's tests in our framework, the default folder where you have tests, and then it knows, it will know all your tests, and it basically it scans the folder and sees all your tests. Then you can go to the source, and you can see that we have these triangles, which will allow you to run the particular test. So you don't need that command line run with a G option to get a particular test. We can do it right from here. If we click it like this, it will run the test. But if we need to debug, we can use this debug. We can do right click and choose the debug, or even Reveal and Explorer, some other options. And you can also run in debug from this button as well. And also we'll get Playwright tab, the panel that allows you to switch between headed and headless. Show browser during the run, or don't show it. Because with this tool, with the extension, you can use these breakpoints, and maybe you don't even need the browser. You can just run it and say, like, if you just want to check variables like we have here, you can run without browser and see what are those values in JavaScript console. But let's say we want to run with the browser. We will run the same test. We need to make sure it's passing. And yeah, let me just run this particular test in debug. Again, it opened the browser, no Playwright Inspector. We run it through extension now. And then it should go to this breakpoint. Let me see. Okay, 1 second. The test passed. Test my account. Okay, I put a breakpoint in the wrong test. Yeah, this would be Okay, we don't need any more this pause statement because that was a breakpoints for the Playwright inspector. We just put it like this, and then yeah, we run it in debug. Okay, it stopped in our VS Code breakpoint, and we can do the same expression right here as I showed you before. You can open console tools. You can get that Playwright object to test the locators. Yeah, pretty much the same way. So you have a regular VS Code debugging tools here. You can step over, you can step into the method, out of the method, you can rerun the test, you can stop the test. I'm showing you the stopover. All right, so that's pretty much all about this extension. If you debugged in the VS Code with other tools, you can find it pretty much the same, similar, setting breakpoints and going through the test. And the last thing I want to show you is a trace viewer. So yeah, we talked about Playwright Inspector, the VS Code extension, and the trace viewer. So trace viewer, it's a tool that basically before the test run, you can enable it in two ways to get the traces of the test. First, you can just, if you run through command line, you can just do trace on option, and that will basically record the trace. I'll show you in a minute what it means. Or if you go to, you can basically set it in the setting. Okay, something sounded. In Playwright settings, I already had it trace on here. By default, it's on retry, on first retry. If you're retrying the test, it will basically record the trace, but I change it to on to be always on. So I don't need to run it right now because we already had several runs, and then we have this trace in the test results folder. For each test you run with a trace on, basically it creates a subfolder, and then it records in this zip archive. And to open this trace, basically you issue another command right here. You just say Playwright show trace, show dash trace, and then you need to give it a path to this file. Yeah, like this. Can you see it? Basically npx playwright show dash trace, then pass to the trace file. Then I hit enter. Okay, it opened the trace tool window, and as you can see here, let me show you around. So basically these are actions that test performed, like first page go to when it loaded the page, the fill username, fill locate, fill password, click on the sign in button. It even highlights the elements it was doing actions on. So click on my account, then verify text in second field, in third field. Basically it verifies these 4 fields that have a correct data for this particular account. And the cool thing, if you click on it, you can see not only screenshot on the action, you can see before the action. Let's say that for password, we can see the screenshot before the action, after the action, password is entered. Also, on this side, you can see some stats about the call. You can see the time call performed, duration of the call, locators, what was the value, and the log that we already saw that Playwright was doing with the element. And then also you can see console output. I'll show you on this go-to page. Usually it has like different network calls, and console, you can see the 2 here indicates that it has two warnings in the console output during this particular step. And then also it shows you the network calls that were done on this step to load the page. And if you can even check if you have some broken like network calls and on what particular step of the test they occur. So here we don't have anything broken, all 200. And then the source code, which actually shows your test code and shows to what each particular Playwright action, to what line in your code it corresponds to. And above, you can see the timeline of the test, which basically you can, if you go through, you can see what was going on. Yeah, I think because for this particular step, we stopped it on the breakpoint, it's not very clear. Yeah, but basically, yeah, it just did, like you can see, it did very quickly the page login, then it did the password, everything was kind of collapsed here, and then we had a breakpoint stop, and this all the time we talked about. But if you just run the test, this part will be like through the whole timeline. Yeah, so this was about the test viewer. And again, that option already mentioned that you can run tests in slow motion. It also helpful during debug. Let me make it smaller. Yeah, if I'll just repeat that part. So if you go to the settings, you have this launch option slow motion, and then you can run the test, and that will be much slower, like whatever you have set up in milliseconds between steps. Now I think if we have time, I can get a volunteer and I can guide someone to do the debug. Let's send the test that we have, maybe choose a better locators.
We have already set up the Playwright on my local. I'm being the practice dummy for today. So we have this Playwright install. Alex, walk me through. What would you like me to?
So yeah, just bring back the command that you used to run this test and add --debug at the end.
Sure. I think it was npx
Playwright
test and then --debug, correct?
Right.
All right.
Okay, you have 3 browsers running. You have in your settings 3 browsers. That's why it started 3 tests instead of 1. It will basically, it will do for 1 browser, then it will do run for 2 other browsers. And we can, for debug purposes, we can comment those out in the settings. If you want not to run through all 3. So yeah, just leave Chromium and yeah, comment out these 2. All right. And
Okay,
then
so let's
restart.
do you want me to restart the test?
Yeah, you can do Control-C and rerun it.
All right.
It's very
good.
quick. Yeah. So now 1 test in 1 browser, and then let's step over. Let's do, yeah, step over here. Okay, at this point you can try pick locator in the inspector, go down like no in this button, and just point it on the field, the search field on the browser. Yeah, and you see it gave you like the locator.
Locator, yeah. Is there a way I can copy this?
Yeah, on the inspector, you can see on the right, you can see copy sign. No, on the right, there is a button. No, in the inspector, the field where you started to select, where you started to select, yeah.
I see. Got it.
Copy it, and then go to your, yeah, not here, go to VS Code and change that. And you can just, yeah, replace. Right. But okay, you need to like it gives you with the locator part. So basically you can you need to replace starting from dot. Or you can do this way. Yeah. and the parenthesis. Yeah, this oh, okay, yeah, like this. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah, and go back.
Do I include XPath as well?
It should be that should be ready to go relocator by Playwright. That's what inspector gave us. Yeah, that should be
Okay.
there. So go back to inspector and the browser, and you can do close this window. I don't know. You can do step over again. Oh, we use the button, but what you can do, you can basically do pick locator, and you can click on the button to submit. And let's say we don't want to send the keys anymore. We need to click on the button. No,
Yes.
no.
However, yes, I'm trying to pick the Google search button, but the auto populate is opening up another window.
Yeah, let's just close it. Yeah.
Close it. Okay.
Yeah.
So
we just need to click on the button with the pick locator.
Okay. So so we should create another locator for the clear first.
But you don't need to whatever. Yeah, now it thinks you want to clear. See, it gave you the locator for clear button because you clicked on pick locator and then you clicked on the clear button. So inspector suggested you get by role button clear. But can you please go to the browser and click somewhere outside of the search? Just click somewhere outside. Yeah. And now you see the button Google search visible. So now you can go to inspector and click pick locator and then go and click on this button. Yeah. So now you can copy this whole thing, right? And you can go back to here and you can substitute everything after the page, right? No, you don't need locator. You just, yeah, just this and semicolon. Right. So now you can try to run it and
okay. All right. So just to reiterate, we used the Playwright debugger to find a better locator for the Google search field, which was auto-generated by Playwright. So I copy pasted that, and we added an additional step. Instead of typing out the button name, we used Playwright debugger's feature to find the locator for the Google search button, which is saving a lot of time instead of what you saw me earlier doing, trying to find the correct XPath.
Right. Okay. And debugs allows you not to only to deal with locators. Again, you can step over, you can see all your steps. If you have like variables in the test, you can basically see them. Yeah. So
okay,
let's run.
Running the test in debug mode.
You just do play here. You don't need to. Oh, if you want to.
Let's do it in slow motion, step over. All right. So first we're going to google.com. The next step is to type it in the Google search button, puppies, because that's Vidal's favorite animal. All right. We type puppies. Now the next step in the test in line 24 is to click the Google search button. So let's step over to that step. We did not add any wait time or the next step for this, so I'm assuming after.
All right, you can add quickly a breakpoint again with the Playwright inspector. To add a breakpoint, just do one more statement after the get by role, after the button click, just do one more and write await page dot pause.
How long would you like me to pause it for?
It will pause until you click basically. Yeah,
I see. Okay, that's cool.
Play.
All right, so running it in debug mode one more time.
Did you save it? Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I have autosave on.
Oh, good.
Because I usually forget to save as well. Okay, so one more time, google.com.
You don't need to go step by step. Now you can play and it will stop. Okay, it stopped. Oh.
It passed.
Yeah, it stopped on pause and then you click play and then it continues. But yeah,
I see. It's happening way too fast. I'm not used to things being this fast. All right, let's click play.
Okay. Oh, we didn't do click for the bottom, get by role and then dot click.
I see. So we missed a step. So let's go back here.
Yeah, we need to do click. And yeah, like this.
All right, let's do that one more time. Clicking play in debug mode. And as you can see,
yeah, it was very fast. So that's
pictures to make your day better.
Yeah,
Puppies.
user need a slow motion or traces or need to debug to get to the point because it was very fast. You didn't even see the search page at all.
Yeah, this is really cool. I mean, usually developing automated scripts without debug mode, it's usually a pain in JavaScript, but this is making things way too fast, and I like it.
If time is the other part would be to install the VS Code debugger, but I mean, I already showed it. Do you want to continue, or I can?
I think we get the message that you're trying to show. This debug feature is really cool and makes your development very fast. As you can see, I developed a test block within few minutes. Didn't have to manually search for XPath and everything. And this saved a lot of time for us.
All right.
All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you. Thank you for trying it out.
Yeah, thank you for walking me through. This is really useful.
Nice, guys. Awesome. Cool. So we are on track. Let's take our second break, and let me share my screen. I'll pull up the time for it. All right, and we are back. Welcome back to the InRhythm Propel workshop on Playwright. We are in the last hour of the talk, and I'll be handing it over to Oleksii, who is going to be talking about Playwright's reporting and parallel test running features, I should say. All right.
Hey guys, my name is Oleksii. I'm senior SDET, and today we are talking about different features in Playwright. Oh, sorry, Playwright. Just a second. Okay, usually when I start working with some new tool, I always open official documentation. And when you start working with Playwright, what is most important to open official documentation, just because it has a lot of information, much more than you can find in the internet. And Microsoft create a lot of detailed information about every powerful feature. And we are talking about most powerful feature in Playwright today. And if you compare Selenium and Playwright for now, for me, it's like a bike and spaceship. And why? Because Playwright has much more power and functionality, how you can handle web automation testing. And honestly, I like Playwright documentation. You can open, for example, specific feature. You can find everything what you need. And this is a big power of for automation testing. Okay, what is disadvantage of Playwright for me in documentation specifically? You can find all information about different set of test cases when you can set up locally different features, but it's not enough information about config file when you can set up everything globally, what is most important for big project. And big disadvantage of Playwright usually if you select different type of languages like Python, Java, or .NET, 50% of functionality are not exist for those languages. And the best choice if you select all TypeScript or JS for automation testing. Today we are talking about parallel testing. This is most powerful feature in Playwright. And you can select any number of workers. It's called workers in Playwright. And you can use different commands in terminal. But if you open our project, most important file in Playwright project is Playwright config.js. And you can see all possible combinations of settings, global settings for whole project. This is timeout, for example. And by default, I changed timeout to 50 seconds. Why? Because when I start running these cases locally as parallel, it means that I need more delays for different locators, for different weights. Because if you run a lot of these cases at the same time, definitely we need some delay. After that, we need specific Boolean. It's fully parallel, it's true. And after what we have more, okay, by default in official documentation for workers, as this is parallel testing, we have undefined. Undefined, it means approximately 6 different workers, but I changed it to 12 because I think that Playwright can run 12 threads at the same time. And if you open official documentation again, we can follow our process. Okay, I can use this command, or I can use JS config file, and after I can do it inside this case or in config file. And we have if condition for CI/CD pipeline, what is good because in this case we can control number of workers. Possible locally everything's working well, but in CI/CD we have some issues, or opposite. Or we need to disable parallel testing. In this case, we just put one worker. Okay, this is test case level, but I prefer to use global level in config file. In this case, I can run all test cases parallel. Okay, you can see this Boolean in documentation for TypeScript or JS. Okay, here we have preconditions, like before all test cases, we can set up everything here too. And this is shard system. Okay. And how we can do it if we come back to our test cases. Okay, we have everything. We change our values locally for 12 different workers. And okay, what I have video reports. If you scroll down, you can see different type of browsers. For example, Chromium is engine for Edge and Chrome. Firefox, WebKit for Safari. We have mobile browsers. And what is good, I don't need to install any of those browsers because by default, Playwright start using already them. And when you install Playwright, you installed already those browsers in Playwright. Okay, we have Edge, we have Google Chrome. Now, because I have all config globally, in this case, I can run just test cases, for example, without any additional argument. And you can see that we run 12 workers. Okay. And it shows us the base report where we can track all information. Now you can see that test cases are super stable and super fast. For example, we have 30 test cases, and 30 test cases takes approximately a couple minutes for execution. And at time execution much faster than if you run only one worker. But you need to think about advance that you need to add additional weights, additional expected results for loading page, for loading different elements. Okay, now you can see I have some issue in Firefox. Okay, and when something is happening with this case, for example, we have some problem or we have possible bug. In this case, Playwright start weighting different elements. In this case, it can be slower than previous, but you can see execution is super fast anyway. It takes 1.5 minutes for 30 test cases. If you need to override number of filters, you can just use this command, like you can just copy information. And now I have four different workers. And it's not...
Hey, just to be clear, you were executing all those tests using one worker. Now you're doing with 4, correct?
No. Previously, I execute 12 workers.
12, okay.
12 workers. Now I overwrite my value in config file. For now, by default, I have 12 already. Now it's 4. And if I need to run only one worker, it should be 1. And it's good for debugging. It's good for understanding what's happened. Or possible if you run your test cases without headless mode. In this case, you definitely need to use one worker because you don't need to open 12 browsers at the same time. It's not very comfortable for testing, for debugging. But if you need speed and if you know that everything is good with your website and test cases, you can start increasing different set of workers. I tried 20 workers, but it's not good. It's not super stable. But 12 is good number. Now I can see, okay, different workers. Yeah. Yeah, and it's a big advantage compared with Selenium, because in Selenium, even you run 5 threads at the same time, usually it's failed. And don't forget that Playwright start using a lot of different browsers, and not only Chrome, where usually we have stable test cases. Okay, now I can override to 1. And it takes more time for execution. What we have for documentation. Yeah, if we need more workers for CI/CD, we can do it. If we need run one worker, we can do it too. Okay, we can set up everything only inside specific class. If you don't need to run all test cases. Okay, yeah, and now you can see that it step by step it execute different set of test cases, but in just in one worker. Okay, and as a nice feature, what is a big advantage of Playwright? Reporters. And at the beginning, you have a report line, but honestly, it's not super useful. You can try it. And again, I come back to config file. In config file, we have a lot of very important options. For example, you have test directory where you can put your test results. After we have retries, if something is failed, we can run test case. After that, we can specify, okay, I prefer HTML report because it's one of the best and it has all details about testing. After we can use traces and screenshots and video. Okay. If I start running this basic report, Usually I need this report only if I don't have time for detailed information, and I need to run test cases fast, and I know what's happened inside. Okay, it's still running.
Hey, while this is running, can you tell us some advantage or scenarios where test executions are necessary and or once you don't need to do it?
When you have flaky test cases and you need to debug some test case, yeah, what is failed, and you definitely need to use not headless mode. Yeah, you need to see what's happened. You can use debugger. In this case, better to use one worker, and it's good for you just because you can understand faster what's happened inside this case, why it's failed. You can track exceptions, screenshot, everything. But if you need speed, and if you know that test cases are stable and can be passed, you can start increasing number of workers, and it depends on the application. Yeah, if it's slow application, possibly you need only 4 workers. If it's faster application, you can use 12 workers. But Playwright is super fast. It depends on application. But I prefer to use 12 workers if I know exactly that my test cases are super stable and everything is good with test cases. Okay, now you can see nothing, or not enough information here, just list of these cases. What we have more? We have a report list. It looks same, honestly. You can see that, okay, if something is failed or passed, time execution information. Okay, line, same. And dot, it's not very useful, just show different type of dots and it's pass or fail. But most important test report is HTML. And I noticed that if even I have config, in config I have HTML by default, after I run different type of reports, it starts executing previous type of report. That's why I need to write back my report system.
Is HTML report is the default reporter for Playwright?
No. At the beginning, when you run just one command for execution, for example, as you remember, we have this command. It generates config file for us. By default, it can be HTML, but you can change it to any type of report. Yeah, but the best report is definitely HTML because you have screenshots, video, tracing, everything inside, all information. Okay. Usually, what is placed for reports in test results, for example, I can show you. Okay, in test results we have usually traces and screenshots and video, but it's only part of reports. Okay, if you open Playwright report, you can see most important report here, but what I like in Playwright, usually it's open automatically for you, this report. Just need to complete execution after overwrite my previous report, and I have some problems in these cases. You can see different type of exceptions. And my global wait 50 seconds. Okay, now it's open automatically all information. And what I like in site reports, you have all information about your test suites. After you have pass or fail test case. Okay. After you open test suite, and you can see all different browsers, time is execution. And if you have some issues with test cases, you can see this icon for video, this icon for traces. If you have these icons, it's a very good sign because you configure everything correctly in your config file. Okay, and after, for example, I want to open and to see what's happened. I can open all steps. After I can track all information here for specific step. After I have screenshot, I have video. Okay. What is useful, what is not? Yeah. Something is happening. Some delay. Okay, and what we have more? We have traces inside HTML report. Okay. Inside traces. Okay. Can go inside, and Alex show you already this nice feature when you have timeline, and you can scroll to failed step, and after you can see console network.
This looks really cool. Usually, Browser Stack and Sauce Labs, they provide this feature that you have to pay for, where with Playwright, you're getting it for free.
Oh. And honestly, what I like mostly, many people think that it's like a set of screenshots, but it's honestly it's copy of DOM, because you can inspect different locators here. And it's same locators as you have in your test cases on your website. That's why you can find problem immediately.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, it's super powerful. Okay. And yeah, this is okay. Video, screenshots, traces. Yeah. That's it from my side. I suggest to run same commands and try to run all test cases in 12 threads for different websites and in different browsers. Plus, additionally, try to open HTML report to see video. How we can do it? We can. Vidal, can you help me with that?
Yeah, do we have let's do the same thing we did for Alex. Imran, if you want to share the project that we worked on in the first session, let's run the reports on it. We can also enable the other two tests and run them in parallel. So we'll do that and then look at the report, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Happy to be a dummy.
Okay.
Practice dummy. All right. Let's share my screen. Okay, so it's exactly where I left off earlier with Alex. Let me finish that one. Okay, so I'm going to uncomment these, and are we changing the settings for parallel execution or leaving it to default?
Definitely, yeah. First, we need a lot of test cases. Yeah, more than 12. After we can go to config file, config.js, and check settings. If you scroll up. Okay, scroll up. Okay, and little bit more maybe. Okay, what you have? You have 30 seconds of delay. It's not enough, but we can try it. After you have flag fully parallel, it's true, everything is good to this part. After you have in line 31, you have undefined. It means that it will run 6 different workers. Okay, a reporter is HTML. It's
Okay.
good. And headless mode. We need headless mode.
Okay. Are we leaving the workers default to 1?
Yeah, it's for CI/CD. It doesn't matter for us.
Okay.
Locally, it's undefined, and it's 6 different workers. Okay. Maybe you can command slow motion. We don't need slow motion. We need fast execution. Okay, headless is good. And traces, for traces, honestly, when you start investigating different features of Playwright, I prefer to use on. When you can, instead of on first retry, when it's failed, yeah, when some test case is failed, after that it can add traces for you. But instead of that, you can add on.
Just
like,
on?
Yeah, always on. And it's good for research how you can use Playwright. Okay, and additionally, you need video. You can after traces you can add video. Yes, and on. Sorry.
Oh, it's on. Okay.
I guess. Okay. Single quote. Okay, doesn't matter.
You just my OCD says let's be consistent. Okay.
Yeah, consistency is very important. Okay, traces we have, video we have, HTML report. Yeah, and now you can run just test cases.
All right. So I'm running the same test scripts that we have.
And even we can try if you uncomment mobile mobile browsers, it will be nice. It definitely failed because I don't have any additional action for mobile versions, but doesn't matter. We have a report, we can see exceptions and problems. Yeah, you can uncomment all browsers, doesn't matter. And yeah, and mobile.
Uncomment this as well.
This is web mobile, not native, but it's still good. Yeah, okay. Just...
Okay.
It's a global comment. You can. Yeah.
All right. So let's do 2 browsers for mobile.
Yeah. Yeah. We need more browsers, good mix, and plus additionally a lot of test cases. And
okay.
For now, it's 6 workers by default, and additionally we have HTML report, but you don't need to add anything because you have already global configs for that.
Okay. All right. So ready to execute?
Yeah, please.
All right. So just to reiterate, we are running the same example test scripts that you guys have seen me put together earlier. We'll be running the same test one more time.
I guess better to use terminal. In this case, it run all test cases for you.
Yeah, I'm running it using the terminal.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah. All right, so I'm executing them now.
Yeah.
So we have running 15 tests using 8 workers.
Interesting. By default, you have 8 workers. I had 6 workers by default. Okay, no problem. Oh, okay. You don't have this mode. You put debugger or not, or what? Sorry.
I do not recall enabling that because
it's because of your pause. I think you still have that pause in there.
Yeah,
right. I see.
Oh, nice catch. Oh, it's like a breakpoint.
Yeah.
In Playwright. If you remove pause, in this case, you have headless mode. It will be fast for you.
Okay, so the test execution finished and it automatically opened up
Awesome.
the reporter for us.
You have different icons for videos and traces as a good sign. Can you see that? Name of test case. Yeah.
This is the one of the tests that failed.
Okay. Yeah, mobile test cases are definitely failed.
Yeah, as expected. But so this is what the reporter looks like when your test fails. It provides step-by-step
Yeah.
What happened in the DOM, and where exactly the test failed. This is really cool.
And you have a
And,
retry already. You can see retry.
Yeah, you have screenshots. Sorry, say that again.
You have retry. It's retry a couple times to execute the test case.
I see. How do you how did you figure that out so quick?
If you scroll up a little bit, you can see retry information. Retried clicking. So interesting. I tried to click a couple times, but still failed.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's visible, not visible. Okay.
Because of this, it's you can see it's retrying the same step multiple times, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we put retry in config files. That's why it retries a couple times.
Oh, I see. It tried up to 39, 40, 43 times. Wow. Okay.
Not a lot by default.
Yeah, that's still a lot to me, but that happened so quick. I'm just kind of surprised that it tried so many times, even though execution didn't take so long.
Honestly, in Playwright documentation, not enough information. What is undefined, yeah, and for workers, and what is for retry? For example, we put retry on, but how many retries we have? Who knows? Okay, is this video?
Yeah, this is a video. This is really cool. Okay.
And you can click traces. You can see traces, yeah.
Traces. Okay.
Yeah, just the screenshot. Okay. Yeah.
Wow,
and
nice. Very cool.
Yeah, this is the best report. Honestly, other type of reports are not very useful, and you have everything. Yeah, you have video tracing, hotel DOM.
Yeah.
You can track any locators. Yeah, and speed is very good. You can see time execution. Yeah, 5 seconds, 3 seconds. It's super fast.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you, Oleksii.
Thank you, Imran. Okay, guys.
Thanks, Oleksii.
Yeah, that was very impressive. Thanks, Oleksii.
Yeah. In the interest of time, we'll skip the cross-language demo. We have 23 minutes left. We'll skip the next break. Why don't we just jump right into the pros and cons of Playwright? Imran?
Sure. Can you share the slides for me?
Yeah. Let me know when you can see.
Yes, I see it. Coffee break. All right, so I'm going to kind of like reiterate some of the information that my colleagues have gone over already. I'm going to just just reiterate some of the major pros and cons of Playwright, why you should use it and why you should think about it. The first thing that the major advantages is cross-browser compatibility. As an SDET, we're always asked to do cross-browser testing because clients don't want any browser-specific bugs in production. And on top of that, Playwright also has it's supported by multiple languages. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Vidal, it supports TypeScript, JavaScript, Python, correct? Out of the box. Yeah.
Python, .NET, and Java, like plain Java. Yeah.
Right. So that's really important because it's not like a WebDriver IO where it just sticks to one language. So this can be supported by different team members in your organizations if they're using different programming languages. And on top of that, Playwright also offers headless and headful testing, as Oleksii has shown you guys earlier. Headless, it runs it in the background. If you're a developer and you want to run a regression test suite of your application because you made some changes, you could run the regression test suite in headless mode and continue your development on your local. So it does not take away the productivity of your from your day, right? So this is really important, headless and headful testing. And it also supports parallel test execution, which is very important. If you have a test suite that has hundreds of tests, as you have seen in Oleksii's demo, parallel testing it does reduce the execution of your test suite significantly. And this is a major advantage of Playwright, their performance and parallel execution, how much it reduces the time. On top of that, Playwright also has an easy to use API. As you have seen in the demos, we did go over the official documents. It's very easy to read, and it's really easy to integrate into your configuration file. You can play around with it. Their documents, it's the website itself is really cool and easy to use. Playwright also supports automated screenshots and video recording. As you have seen in the test reporters, it's out of the box. They have that feature. As I have also mentioned, this feature is usually provided by BrowserStack or Sauce Labs, which are premium services that can cost your organization a lot of money. I believe from one of the organizations that I had for Playwright, BrowserStack costs like in the thousands, right? So the fact that you're getting all these features for free, that's a major selling point itself. Playwright also support event-based testing. It has built-in support for web standards, and it also has mobile device browsers, as you have seen in our test earlier. And Playwright itself is a powerful tooling, and it's gaining a lot of traction in the market at the moment. On npmjs.org, they have 1.6 million downloads per week, and Playwright is also the number 6 most popular repository provided by Microsoft on GitHub. So that should speak volume for itself, how powerful it is getting, and it will get better as more and more people adapt to Playwright. Now let's talk about some of the cons of Playwright. Next slide, please. Vidal, next slide, please. Okay, there you go. So what are the drawbacks? Playwright, as we have mentioned multiple times throughout our demo and workshop today, Playwright is very new. It's new to the market. So its APIs are still evolving. Some of the features that you might find in other testing framework might be missing, but as the popularity keeps getting, as it gets more and more popular, and APIs will also evolve and you get those features. So at the moment, it is a drawback, but it's not something that will be permanent, in my opinion. It has limitation in unsupported browsers. Some features and APIs may not be available in older or less popular browsers, making it difficult to test certain applications. For example, Internet Explorer 10, 11. I mean, rest in peace, Internet Explorer. We don't need that anyway. So it's not the biggest drawback, but it is something to consider if your application is stuck with legacy browsers. Documentation and community are not as good as other framework yet. As I have mentioned, this is very new, but this is, in my opinion, will change as it gets more and more popular. At the moment, you might not find as many answers on Stack Overflow like other testing frameworks, but as it keeps getting more tractions, that will change. And we are here to kind of promote Playwright itself. Hopefully, this will make someone else think about Playwright. Next slide. So these are some of the competition for Playwright. I'm not going to dig into each one of these, but just do know that Playwright's biggest competitors at the moment: Selenium WebDriver, Cypress, Jest, and WebDriver IO. I personally use WebDriver IO Jest myself, and yes, worked with Selenium WebDriver. And the performance compared to those three and versus Playwright, it's significantly faster with Playwright. And debugging feature, as Alex has shown you guys earlier, which reduces the development for your test scripts significantly. It's one of my favorite features. On top of that, the reporter that Oleksii also shown earlier, that's also really powerful. That's not being provided by Jest, WebDriver IO, or any other test framework that I know of at the moment. At least not for free, right? Next slide, please. And this is kind of like a diagram that Vidal put together for us, showing you that different features that being provided by Selenium, Cypress, which are the two biggest competitors for Playwright. And you can see there's not that many features that are missing in Playwright, except for maybe static weights. And another one was earlier that we mentioned for some unsupported browsers, for some legacy browsers. But if those are not big factors for you, Playwright is an easy win. And performance itself is a big selling point for me. And that will conclude my summary. Vidal, I'll hand it over to you.
Thanks. Yeah, I want to add one more thing, and that is that, am I muted? I'm not muted yet. One also kind of downside of Playwright is that it does not have feature parity across all of its languages. The most feature robust language is JavaScript and TypeScript. You have the debugger across all languages, but certain features like its robust HTML reporting or its tracing might not be available for Java or for Python. But that is something that they're obviously working on. But yeah, that is it for that. We'll open up the last 10 minutes of the talk for Q&A. If anybody has any questions, and then we'll wrap up.
Question for me, are any of you guys using this in production or planning to do it?
I can answer from a Goldman perspective. We are planning on migrating. We currently use WebDriver.io and Jest. And we are planning on migrating all of those tests to Playwright as a kind of like a long-term initiative over the next year or so. So that's on our end at Goldman. I don't know about Fidelity or MasterCard.
Yeah, we plan same because we need cross-browser support, and plus additionally we need to test different operating system. We use Mac, but we can test Edge, for example, on Mac using Playwright. It's a big advantage of it. We definitely plan to use Playwright.
Oleksii, question for you. Since you have been using it for production in your team, what feature in Playwright do you think had the most impact for your SDET team?
What is most powerful feature? Yeah.
Oh no! What's one feature that's being provided by Playwright had a big impact for your team?
For my team specifically, for now,
yeah,
we plan to use Playwright only because Playwright support a lot of different browsers, and plus you can test Edge, WebKit for Safari, Chrome, and different browsers. Cross-browser and cross-platform compatibility is very important for us.
Nice. Cross-browser compatibility is a huge selling point. Nice.
And web mobile definitely is very important because different type of resolutions. You don't need to think about resolutions, by coordinates. You can use immediately different type of browsers in web mobile.
That's true. When we do set up like using the Chrome emulators for browser testing, you do have to worry about the screen sizes, and you have to worry about maintaining all those configuration files as those phones get updated.
And it's very important that from our client, possible we can't use cloud solutions like BrowseTech or South Labs, and how we can handle different browsers and different operating system in this case. I mean, it's not very comfortable to use Mac and Windows, two laptops for running locally different test cases. Or in Playwright, you can do everything using any platform.
Nice.
So for a FDS project, we would be using Playwright. I think one of the main reasons is we would be working a lot with iframes. And I've seen that it works like really, really well. For Cypress, it's like a pain to get around like iframes. So like we have a storybook where you have to like deal with a lot of everything with iframes. So it's been working really well for us so far. So yeah.
Do you think the performance improved for your project with iframes?
So
Like test performance.
I think the performance in general, it is like really, really good. For example, like for Cypress in my previous experiences, when I was, interacting with iframes to like target like child elements, locally it might work great, right? But then when you run it in a CI server, things are like completely like breaking, like it's very, very inconsistent. But in my experience, when I've specifically dealt with a lot of iframes, I just blasted in the servers, CI servers. It's been like working like reliably for so long right now. So yeah, like really, really promising, and really consistent with iframes. So like it can be a pain, right? Like you have to like when you want to target like elements, under that iframe. So Playwright is like really, really good for that.
Yeah, I read that. I think that I read an article that the reason for Playwright's very robust, like it has a very specific algorithm for walking the DOM to find elements by text or by CSS tag. And it was developed specifically because like Salesforce, the application for Salesforce is very iframe heavy, and it is a thing that for a long time has like been very difficult to write test automation for. And
Yeah.
so like it was all of that was developed specifically for that purpose.
Also, the API is like really simple, right? If you look at the methods to like, look for a frame, it's like really, really easy. It's just like a one-liner really. So, whereas if you compare it to Cypress, there's no async await, and you just have to like, write a few lines of code to just to, target a child element within the parent iframe. So, and it's not even consistent. So yeah, I mean, the syntax in itself is like pretty easy to use and straightforward.
Yeah, documentation for me is a huge selling point.
Yeah.
Working with some testing framework, lack of documentation can
Yeah.
take away a lot of time. I have one question from someone who did not participate in the workshop. Okay, let's pick Parag. From the demo today, what was your favorite feature? Let's see, you have been paying attention or not.
I definitely like to start with the puppies demo. That was the amazing thing to start with. But no, overall the debugging feature that looks really promising, and also yeah, the ability to test on different browsers as well, right? So there's a lot in there, and I also shared with some of you. Like I got a message on my LinkedIn post from one of my friends. Like he's a director of engineering at one of the consulting firms. They recently switched from Cypress to Playwright, and he said that they are loving it. So more and more companies are using it, which is really good.
Nice. What about you, Ted? What was your favorite part from this workshop and Playwright?
Yeah, I think one of the things I found most impressive was the speed, like how fast a lot of that was going through. That was really incredible. I admit I was trying to keep up with everything and code it myself, but I'm on a pretty new laptop, and so I was not quite set up as well as I thought it was yet to keep up. But
I can see only two disadvantages of Playwright for now. One disadvantage for Java and Python and .NET, not enough features, like 50% of features for these languages. It's not good, and this is a big disadvantage for me for now. And second disadvantage, detailed documentation is great. Everything is good. It's by the features, by different functionality, but usually it's more on test level, when you can put, for example, parallel test only for specific class, only for specific test, but not enough information about config file. And you can do everything in config file. You can set up everything on global level. And this is disadvantage for me for now.
Cool.
Very
Any
cool.
other questions? Anything else before we wrap up? All right, let's wrap it up.
Yeah, just want to say thank you all for participating.
Yes, thank you.
You guys rock.
It was amazing. Yeah, thank you all for participating, and special thanks to Vidal, Oleksii, Alex, Imran for putting this workshop together and doing such an excellent job hosting it. It was really informative, and I really enjoyed watching you guys collaborate. John also coming up and helping debug Imran. That was
Yeah, that was cool.
I
That was like teamwork.
yeah. So I enjoyed, and I hope you all enjoyed this experience as well. Quickly, what's coming up for InRhythm Quarterly Summit? We are hosting overall a series of 6 hands-on interactive coding workshops on latest technology trends, and our next workshop in this series will be hosted on next Thursday by our web development practice, where we will build an app with Next.js. We'll also learn how to use a monorepo. We'll also explore different web bundling options. And I'm really excited about this workshop. So make sure you mark 23rd March on your calendar, which is next Thursday. And thank you all once again for joining. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you all next week.